here in this area. You're gonna need a spill-free funnel. This is a must for this one. I do have one recommended in my Amazon affiliate page. The link is in the description of this video. We must use this one, and you'll see why. So, we're gonna loosen the bleeder, which is a 10mm bolt. So we're just gonna loosen it a little bit. Leave it right there. Then we're gonna take a hose. Now you notice this hose is no longer clear, but you do need a clear hose, 1/4 inch inner diameter. Now you're gonna have to stretch it a little bit. So perhaps when the car is hot, the day before you do this, try to fit it on there. The heat of the engine will stretch this vinyl hose and open it up a little bit so it sits snug on that bleeder. We're gonna install this hose on the bleeder and then run this hose back to our reservoir. I'm gonna use a clamp to hold it down. Now I will say one thing, all the bleeding success and failure will depend on how you watch the coolant running through this hose. This hose has to be clear. This hose doesn't look clear here, but it is, but this has seen hundreds, if not thousands, of bleeding procedures on these engines. You're gonna watch, you're gonna do this before you fill your coolant. Let's fill our coolant. You're gonna use Toyota Genuine Coolant. Most of these 2GRs will take 1.5 to 2, sometimes just over a 2. Depends if you're doing a water pump, if you're doing thermostat, if you're doing any kind of job where you're just replacing the coolant. That's how you'll know how much it needs. So let's fill it up. However, before I fill it up, we're only gonna fill it up a little bit at a time. You'll notice with this bleeder open, it'll come down very quick. Do not overfill this because I'll tell you why later. Now here it is. Now we're starting to fill up. I want you to notice the coolant coming out of the hose. You're going to get to a point where it is. The coolant will come up the hose. So you see that the coolant level in the hose is the same as the coolant level in the overflow funnel. You do not want to overfill the overflow funnel more than, not too much, because as we start bleeding, the level here in the funnel will go up, down, and you don't want it to overflow. That's a common mistake that I see. So once you got to this point, your coolant level is the same level as the funnel, and there's no longer bubbles or stuff coming out. We're going to go ahead and start the engine. As soon as you start it, you're going to need either a helper, or you can get a pedal depressor, or you can engineer something to push the pedal. You're going to want to have the heater off, completely off, front and rear, if your car is equipped with rear heater, and you're going to rev the engine over 2,000 RPM. So 2,000 or up. If you start this engine cold, you're going to want to rev it up to 2,500. After a little bit, it'll settle down to 2,000. So let's go ahead and do that. While we do that, the noise will be a little bit loud. I'll try my best to explain, but we're going to be watching the hose, the coolant in the hose. You're going to see spits of coolant. This coolant that's standing right now will go down immediately, and then you're going to see spits of coolant and all kinds of good stuff, but we're waiting for the very final complete flow of coolant where this hose has coolant coming out with complete pressure and draining back here. That's when you know this car is bled. But even then, there's a little bit of a additional thing that you got to do, which I will show you. But I just wanted you to watch this process from the beginning. It's going to spit a little bit as the engine warms up. And then, actually, you're going to get to a point where the coolant will just go down. And you're going to have very violent bubbling here. That's when all the air out of the heater core is coming out and is coming back here. Once that happens, you're going to start seeing coolant come up, come up, come up until it starts draining here with pressure. Not high pressure, but enough pressure where it's not going to be like the spitting that we get initially. So let me go start the car, rev it up to 2,500, and we're going to watch what happens with the coolant. I've tried my best to talk, but the engine will be pretty loud, so my voice will not be very clear. Let's go ahead and do that. At this point, jets of coolant. Some of it will come back in the reservoir, but they are not the final steady stream that we want. You gotta let this run until the coolant goes all the way back and then comes back with steady force. You'll see it. Let's just wait for it. This is what I was waiting for. When the coolant goes all the way back down and there's no longer coolant in the hose. Now this is bubbling hard. That's where all the air is coming out. This is the moment you want to wait for. You're getting very close to the end. At this point, your coolant here is going to drop rapidly. And you're going to see it. Just make sure it stays over the bottom of the overflow hose. Let's wait for it. Now you're going to start seeing that steady flow off the clear hose. We're waiting for it. It's going to take some time. We're going to wait for it to overflow all the way into the reservoir. There we go. Those are not a problem, but you notice it's a steady flow, and you see the flow. Here's the flow. Now we're getting a steady flow out of this, non-stop. At this point, you're going to reach in there and try to close the bleeder by hand. Now we're going to let it settle down. Let the idle off. We're going to let the car idle because now the coolant will drop some more at this point. Let's let it settle down until you see no more big bubbles coming out of here. Then top off your reservoir to full, clean up the coolant over there. The best way to clean the coolant over here is just to spill water over here and let it evaporate. Because as you do this procedure, you're going to get some coolant spilled here, and there's no way around it. Even when the hose is on, even if you're tightening the bleeder off, there's no way around that. So you're just going to have to tighten it, clean it up, tighten it up, and drive it. It'll smoke a little bit. But give it like a couple miles of driving, the smoke will clear and life is good. So there you have it, folks. This was very simple. It's not really